step across this line. I never dare you, motherfucker. Cross this one.
Electric sparking wires exposed. Scrota cuts deep where the truth erodes. Rebel in the trenches, voice explode. This the HIHLS, the code overload.
What up, family? Happy Juneteenth for real.
What up, family? Happy Juneteenth for real.
You already know. Now look, I know exactly what you are doing right now. You're looking at your calendar.
You're sitting there saying, it is way, way past Juneteenth.
They're definitely checking their calendars right now.
They are. But listen to me. It is perfectly okay that this episode is late. Because look, historically speaking, even the slaves got the news late too.
Hold up. No, absolutely not. We have to stop the tape right here at minute 1. You absolutely cannot keep saying that into a live microphone.
Hey, I had to bring the signature line to the cookout, you know. It's mandatory.
You ain't wrong, though. We sat down in the pre-production meeting, we had our little coffees, and we explicitly agreed the joke was retired. The ancestors are literally going to strike this studio with a bolt of lightning.
Oh, relax. I'm just keeping it real for the listeners. Look, the real HLS fellows, Scrota, Rebel, and Electrik, they got entirely too busy celebrating Juneteenth.
And watching the World Cup.
Right, the World Cup, and wilding out over the Knicks finally winning the NBA championship, which, let's be honest, is a cosmological anomaly that probably deserves a federal holiday of its own.
It truly defies the laws of physics.
Right, so rent was due, the mics were ice cold, and they just forgot to hit record. So, you know, because nature abhors a vacuum, your favorite honorary guest hosts are stepping into the booth to hold it down.
The hostile takeover is officially in full effect.
Swag.
The locks on the studio doors have been changed.
Changed and bolted. Now, for you listening at home, you might recognize our voices from our previous incursions, but tonight we are operating strictly under our honorary, highly distinguished Juneteenth monikers.
Yes, we are.
So I am Ketty Wop, and today formally recognized in the streets and, you know, the academic halls as Queen Liberation LaShonda Freedom Williams III.
A heavy title. And I am Brizzy B. And for just today, internationally recognized across several entirely unaccredited institutions as the sole professor, Junebug, X, Shabazz, and Kruma.
The professor's in the building. So you've got us stepping in once again to hold it down and do the heavy intellectual lifting that they are currently too hungover to do.
Exactly. And the mission today is critical, listener. We are hosting an awards show where we ruthlessly review the absolute hottest debates, the most dangerous tangents, and just the pure, unfiltered nonsense from Season 2 of the podcast.
The absolute nonsense.
But more importantly, this is for the crown.
We are going to officially decide who takes home the most prestigious hardware in the game.
We are talking about the HLS Underground Railroad, 40 acres, and a microphone heavyweight belt.
A very heavy belt.
A belt which, we need to remind everyone listening, is currently wrapped around the waist of the defending champion, Scrota. He took it home last year.
Oh, don't remind me.
He walked away with the belt. He has been parading around with it for 365 days.
Just insufferable.
But he's facing 2 really hungry challengers this season.
Rebel and Electrik have been plotting on his downfall, and the guests they brought on this season only added fuel to the fire.
So we combed through the tape. We have the transcripts right here.
We have all the receipts. We are breaking down the arguments, the hot takes, the tangents, and the absolute nonsense.
And we are dropping the official BS heat check on every single round.
Let's explain that real quick. 0% BS means you are spitting straight facts. You are operating in undeniable reality.
But 100% BS means you are talking complete nonsense. Full cap. Get out of my face.
Because the beautiful thing about these three is that their arguments are never just like surface-level disagreements.
No, never.
They are exposing deeply ingrained philosophies about human nature. Like, take our first topic. Ready to get into this?
I was born ready. Let's get straight to the tape.
We are diving straight into the deep end of relationship dynamics. Specifically, the great debate on freaks, hoes, and the incredibly messy radioactive rules of dating the homie's ex. This takes us to Season 2, Episode 5.
Right.
Is it ever acceptable to date a friend's ex-partner? Let's go to the tape.
Now, you all keep mentioning this like, oh, they keep knocking it down within the same friends group. That doesn't bother me. It's the transitive property. If I'm cool and I think he's cool and I think she's cool, then she's probably going to think he's cool too. It wouldn't like be out of the question to me that, oh, these two might find each other attractive. That doesn't bother me. We have friends who are full out married, have kids with our other friends or ex-girlfriends.
That is Absolutely true.
And we are happy for them, okay?
Yeah, and they're happy too with their whole ass family. Yeah, it's great.
You guys
Exactly.
are weird then. You guys are definitely weird.
No,
Electric,
we're
Electric,
secure.
you gotta be with me on this. In our culture, that could never be happen.
Nah,
It's sure
I
coming on
have too
y'all's
much
part.
Latino in my blood or something, because that shit just sounded so crazy to me right now.
It's just not it.
I'm
It just
territorial with
Why?
my female man.
Territorial, that ain't your person.
I
It's
don't
not
give
your
a
If
person. It might be a southern thing. Hold on real quick.
Maybe
Let
it
me
is.
ask
I
this
think
question.
so.
Let me ask
Yeah.
a question, right? Let's say Electric is dating a girl, right? And they break up,
Yes.
but it's not like a 7-year relationship. It was like I was dating her for like a little under a year. You know what I'm saying? No, I love yous, none of that stuff. Is that person off limits? And when I say off limits, I don't mean like I'm waiting at the starting line, waiting for that bell to go off. And I'm like, boom, and I'm right on it. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like, is that person ever off limits, especially if they're still around?
It's just like it's disrespectful.
Why would that be
That means
disrespectful?
that because that means that the person, both of them, you like the man that was with me, you don't respect me because you didn't even like give a fuck about like fucking one of my girlfriends. And it's like she doesn't respect me because she didn't give a fuck that this is the man that I was dating. Like it's a respecting. That means that you will do it. Even if we was married or we were like dating, that means there was an interest there. If somebody's hitting on me and I know they already dated my girlfriend, because it has happened to me before, like my cousin in this case, I will reject them right away.
Wait, don't just go by that real quick. Wait, what? Your cousin? He got
Like,
caught
you
in
guys
that
What if
already
this
did
could have been your
scenario
happily ever after dude?
Yep, that could have been it.
What if this could
I
have
don't
been your
think so.
happily ever after dude and you throwing away a
No.
whole future because your cousin went on the date one time? What if your cousin
But
is the hoe?
I know she fucked him. That's what I'm saying. It's a disrespect. It's disrespect.
I side with Nikita on this, and it might be a cultural thing. Yeah, for one, I ain't messing with none of my homies' girls. I wouldn't like any of my homies dating any of my exes. That's a no-go.
Why?
It's just a no-go for me. I don't gotta explain why. I'm just territorial like that. But if it
They're your
happens,
ex,
I
you
can't
ain't-
control it. If it happens, I can't control it. I won't like it.
What if you let somebody awesome go? Like you just fumbled. That person's off limits to all your friends forever because you fucked up?
I would look at it as my so-called homie scheming on me the whole time.
Yep,
It's
absolutely.
like
that
whole
means that he was
time
eyeing
you were
that.
sitting and just waiting, and for me that's a snake. I don't like
What if
shit
it's
like
like-
that, bro.
Okay.
Yep,
So even
that's
if
how
it's
we
not-
see.
You realize that relationships develop naturally over time,
For real.
right? If I go, like I said, if we're talking about somebody who's not in the friend group,
There has to be some
no,
effort
no,
there.
bro, no, there does not always have to be effort. It doesn't. You've never
For real.
developed feeling for somebody like, damn, I think I like this person. That's never happened to you before. And if it hasn't happened to you before, that is a normal thing that happens to people.
For one, that shit sounds conniving to me. Number one. Number two, there are more women available in the world. Like, why do you have to go to someone that your homie dated? Like,
But
that
you
shit
may,
is
let me put it like this. I know several people who are dating somebody, broke up because this guy wants to go ahead and fuck other women. And then
Yup.
this girl meets another guy and marries this person.
Exactly.
I will say that for the most part, I would never even entertain that thing. But I'm not going to sit here and act like exceptions do not exist. And if you're going to date my ex that I had a real relationship with, like a real one, you better marry that girl.
Look, if I was dating somebody and we broke up and we're still cool, meaning like I wish her the best, she wishes me the best. At the same time, if I know the reasons why we broke up and I know my friend is a good dude and they would make a good pair, I would rather her be with my friend than some random dude.
No,
these
you would just be.
streets.
No, you would just be seen as a
Especially if
cuck.
I actually
Sorry.
still like this person. I would much rather her be with somebody that I know is a good dude than take her chances out in these streets.
That's very unhinged. I agree with you. No, I agree with you on that. But I'm also
So-
passionate about my partner, so therefore, ain't no fucking way.
Let me tell you, Nikita did not come to play.
She absolutely did not.
She had a hardline, zero-tolerance policy. She argued that dating a friend's ex is the absolute ultimate form of disrespect. And she didn't just base this on hurt feelings or like awkward double date.
No, she rooted it in her cultural background.
Exactly. She rooted it in her Caribbean and Latino culture. She literally told the fellas that in the Caribbean or Latin America, you do not even try that because you will get killed.
A very literal physical boundary being drawn there. She was speaking to a cultural enforcement of interpersonal loyalty. And what was fascinating was how quickly Electrik aligned with her.
Oh, he jumped right on that train.
Electrik, bringing in his own Latino heritage, completely co-signed this hardline stance. He flat out stated he wouldn't touch a homie's girl, and he would absolutely cut off any friend who dated his ex.
Right. And his reasoning was wild to me. He didn't say, oh, it would make me sad or I'd be heartbroken.
No, it was much more primal than that.
He admitted, plain as day, that he is just highly territorial. He said he looks at it as his so-called homie scheming on him the whole time.
He is talking about mate guarding, which is a very real evolutionary psychology concept.
Break that down for us.
Well, in environments where resources, including reproductive partners, are perceived as scarce, humans develop intense territorial behaviors. Electrik views the friend not as a passive observer, but as an active competitor.
A snake in the grass, basically.
Exactly. But wait, I kind of want to play devil's advocate for a second, because we hear this bro code stuff all the time.
Right, go ahead.
If they broke up, the relationship is over, right? The contract is terminated. Why should Electrik get to dictate what his friend or his ex does after the fact? Isn't that just a massive ego trip?
Oh, it is entirely an ego trip. But it is an ego trip rooted in perceived status. Electrik's reaction, assuming the friend was plotting his downfall the entire time, is a defense mechanism. By villainizing the friend as a schemer, Electrik protects his own ego from the vulnerability of just being heartbroken.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. He is turning his heartbreak into anger because anger feels more powerful. It's a classic redirection.
Exactly. But then we have Scrota. Our defending champion decides he is going to represent the entire American South in this debate.
Oh, the Southern gentleman defense.
He claims that down south, they don't do dibs. He paints this wild picture of Southern men just cheerfully, peacefully letting a woman choose between them without an ounce of jealousy. He says that if time has passed, holding onto an ex is greedy, possessive, and immature.
Scrota is attempting to intellectualize something that is inherently viscerally emotional. He is proposing a society where interpersonal territoriality simply evaporates below the Mason-Dixon line, replaced by this enlightened communal approach to past romantic partners.
You expect me to believe that in the South, a region known for country music, which is literally 90% songs about jealousy, cheating, and heartbreak, guys, are just sitting on the porch drinking sweet tea saying, well, I do declare she has chosen my best friend.
Let us celebrate with a brisket.
Exactly. It makes no sense. And if you thought Scrota was reaching, Rebel claimed he would actively want his friends to date his exes.
He literally declared himself Captain Save-A-Ho on the microphone. He is trying to sound like a romantic philanthropist, like, here, my good brother, please take my leftover relationship, I insist.
Have you ever met a human man in the history of the world who actively matchmakes his best friends with the women he used to be in love with? Let's bring out the bullshit meter, because I cannot take this anymore. We have to rate these arguments based on how divorced they are from actual human reality.
Let the grading begin.
Let's start with our defending champion, Scrota.
Scrota is coming in hot at 70%. This is congressional testimony levels of dodging the reality of human emotion.
Heavy dodging.
He tried to defend his whole I wouldn't be mad logic by bringing up that his wife is West African, so he gets the cultural aspect of community sharing.
While completely ignoring the universal cross-cultural concept of human jealousy.
Well, the intellectualization of romantic jealousy is a massive logical flaw. You cannot bypass the amygdala with a fake Southern drawl. I would say the meter is screaming.
Okay, but 1 second, he did get a few things right?
I will admit begrudgingly that Scrota is right about one fundamental human truth. Natural feelings can develop without malicious intent.
True. Propinquity is a real psychological phenomenon.
Exactly. Sometimes you are just around someone, the situation changes, and feelings grow organically.
The more you are exposed to a stimulus, the more you tend to like it. Okay, so we are adjusting Scrota's score to a smooth 40% on the meter, but we can't give a pass to that, trust me bro, defense at its absolute worst. But what about Rebel?
Oh, Rebel breaks the meter entirely.
For acting like he's running a matchmaking charity for his homies, using his own ex-girlfriends. For claiming he'd be actively joyful to see his friend with his ex.
Top-tier delusion. Nobody is that magnanimous, not even Mother Teresa. I am giving Rebel a 90% on the bullshit meter.
No cap. He was just being contrarian for the sake of being contrarian. Which leaves us with Nikita and Electrik.
Now, we can certainly argue that their views are possessive, maybe even a little toxic in how rigid they are.
Toxic, yes, but in terms of the bullshit meter, certified truth tellers, I'm giving them a 10%.
I agree completely.
Why? Because they were keeping it 100% real about human nature. They weren't lying to themselves. Nikita said it straight up, if you date my ex, I am blacklisting you and him. That is real life.
Very real.
Electrik said he is territorial and assumes the worst. That is the raw, ugly truth of human insecurity. You might need to talk to somebody about those trust issues, but they aren't lying on this podcast.
It is a fascinating dynamic. Electrik and Nikita are operating from a place of primal protection of their emotional resources. They acknowledge the darkness in human nature, while Rebel and Scrota are trying to pretend we are all hyper-rational robots.
Exactly.
He kept it culturally authentic. He flat out said, in Latin and Caribbean culture, you cross that line with a friend's ex, you might not literally survive the cookout.
He brought the raw reality of the streets to a theoretical academic debate.
So, evaluating the first round of this championship bout, the winner is clearly Electrik.
Absolutely.
He stood his ground. He didn't let Scrota's philosophical deflections or Rebel's math equations move him off the undeniable truth that dating your friend's ex is messy, dangerous business. Electrik takes round one.
All right, so Electrik is on the board with one win. Okay, now let's look at the next major clash in the transcripts. This one perfectly illustrates this struggle for leverage.
Oh, this was a heavyweight bout.
The central question the crew was trying to solve was deceivingly simple, right?
Who struggles more in modern relationships, men or women?
Let's go to the tape.
But there was a question I was asked during the event that said, do women or men have it harder? And I said men because I think men have a harder time adjusting to changing gender dynamics and stuff like that. Just a little bit ago, right? We were talking about keeping up the facade and the optics of the man taking charge and paying, right? So this whole thing is about like this gender expectation that is annoying, that the woman wants the man to pay for all these expensive things or whatever, is a product of the gender standard that we sometimes enforce when we say we should be taking charge, we should be leading, we should be this, we should be that as men. So it's a mixed message that's happening. When you want to take the initiative and say and fulfill those stereotypical gender roles, you know, like, oh, the man shouldn't show emotions, the man should just go ahead and take care of stuff, and the man can't be weak, and the man has to pay for stuff, and the man's the protector and provider and stuff like that. That comes with the woman not working. If you was working and your girl's working, and the girl's like, I'm not working anymore, I don't want to. Most men wouldn't be cool with that. Wouldn't be cool with that at all. They'd be like, well, what are you doing about? But they would be cool with saying, I'm the breadwinner of the house and I bring the money in and stuff like that. You're trying to find this workable and practical medium, but you're still enforcing these extremes that benefit you while rejecting and getting pissed off at the extremes that benefit them. And it's like men have a hard time adapting and understanding that like the thing that made them the breadwinners and stuff like that are accessible and necessary for everyone now. So what if that's what made you a man, what distinctively makes you a man now?
I've had a lot of female
Listen,
friends and
you go ahead.
great
Yeah.
picks.
Mhm.
Their problem with finding a partner was always because they were nitpicking at one little thing. And
Yep.
I would hear their stories and I'm like, why would you let a guy go off of that? No, it's just something I don't like. And it's like, are you serious? Like, give him another chance. No, I'm not really into him like that. Okay. You know, and I've heard that story like hundreds of times, you know, and without
And we're talking,
exaggeration, when I say
we're
hundreds of
40, we're talking
times,
about 40-year-olds.
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised 40
You
year olds
No,
are
no, no,
even
no, 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 no,
worse.
no, no, no. Electric is referring to a specific individuals and a specific time in his life. I'm asking, are those 40-year-olds we're talking about?
Well, I was recently out dating, not even a year ago, and a few conversations I've had when I asked, why are you single? Right? And it sounded like just things that they were just nitpicking at, you know? And then one other thing was one strange statement I was hearing is like the guys that are local are not masculine enough. And I've heard a few women say shit like that. And I'm like,
Wow.
Patrick,
I mean, you can see if
weren't
a man's
you crossing
masculine.
people off your
Right.
list
Say
for
again?
little stuff too?
Who, me?
He can be picky.
Yeah.
I can be picky, but what I'm saying
Why
is
can you be
women are a
picky?
lot more pickier.
But why can you be picky? And it's
Because
not a good thing for other people to be picky.
no, no,
I'm
no,
not
no. We
saying
didn't
it's
say
not a
it's
good
a
thing.
good
I didn't say it was
Yeah.
a bad thing. What I'm saying is women are a lot more pickier than a man is. A man, look,
There's
a
more
man will,
supply.
hold on, a man will date a woman, right? Say if a man could pull eights easily, right? A woman that's at a level 8 easily. A guy could settle for a 6 if a 6 is stupid cool. Like if she was just like stupid cool, crazy fun to be with, a guy will lower his standards for that. Sometimes a woman won't lower her standards no matter what. Even if the guy was cool,
There's-
and I've heard it before. Oh, he was really cool. He had a great personality, but you know, his finances weren't right. Or
no, I've heard this too. But the women I surround myself around and usually talk to normally don't exude those things. So when you're saying that and you're labeling all people and painting all people with one brush, it's like, dude, okay.
But we're not.
what
you
We
said
are taking
was-
you've heard. Listen, hold on. You're missing, because I know you're a scientist. So let me paint it like this. You just mentioned a sample that woman, her experience is a sample. You've heard other people that say that. That's a different sample. Electrik has heard this. This is his sample. I've heard it. So that's my sample. We've all
Correct.
taken different samples and heard the same thing. So
I'm saying that his sample is cool, but I'm saying that his own experience contradict the conclusion that he's drawing.
because he's an anomaly.
Oh my
dude.
God, I'm
Electrik is a handsome dude. Electrik can be picky.
Dude, that's selection bias.
Yeah, but he's been picky and he's still picked.
and that's
Hey.
what I'm saying.
I
That
tell
most-
you this,
it's
I'm
easier for-
picky,
That's
but
what I'm. No, that's what I'm saying.
picky,
But
But
most
men
dudes-
have that
most-
ability.
Most dudes are shooting their shot. Electrik is an anomaly in that he doesn't just shoot his shot anywhere. Electrik is picky.
Because most dudes have the power to do that. Y'all think, oh, a woman could walk down there. We talked about this. A woman could walk down the street and even have a man, or a woman are too picky. It doesn't work like that.
We could be single right now and we'll be fine in the open field.
Not because
Why?
we're not picky. It's
Why?
because there's not a lot of men in the pool. There's just not.
So why aren't women asking men out?
Because they're not socialized to. Because
So
that's
then
not
who's
that's
picking?
not a womanly thing to do.
So who's picking then? Because then men have to do the asking.
Yes, which is stupid.
So who has the power to either begin the relationship or reject the relationship?
The men. Because if the men don't say anything, the women stay single. They have more picking power because we have to initiate it.
no, because it gets
That-
to the point where women are like, "What are we doing here?"
Yeah. No, well, not only that.
Yeah, because I, as a man, have not decided to advance the relationship yet. And the woman is waiting for me to do so. The power is in my hand as a man.
No, it's not. Because
Oh,
you're not the only
gosh.
man asking.
Yeah, I
she
am.
has.
Yeah,
She
yes,
has
I
the
am.
picking packing. She
Yes, I
has the
am.
picking power. Sure. She has the power.
Oh, man.
Let's break down the stances, starting with the defending champion, Scrota.
So Scrota came out swinging with this incredibly structural, almost academic argument.
Mhm.
He posited that men actually struggle more in the modern era because they are trapped in a system of their own historical making. That society still heavily demands the traditional provider role from men, right?
Right, the expectation that you pay the bills, you are the unshakable rock.
Exactly, the financial bedrock of the household. But simultaneously, modern relationships demand that men adapt to entirely new emotional expectations. Scrota's argument rests on the idea of a societal expectation lag.
Like they're stuck between two eras.
Exactly. Men are essentially being raised with the sociological blueprints of the 1950s, where your value is tied entirely to your wallet and your stoicism.
But they're being asked to date in the 2020s. Scrota literally calls this a toxic expectation of divided labor.
And look, I actually want to pause and give Scrota some credit here, because the mechanism he is describing is real,
Yeah,
about the friction of changing gender roles.
but Rebel was absolutely not having it.
Not even a little bit. Rebel fundamentally disagreed and brought the argument right back to the raw reality of the dating market.
Rebel's stance was blunt, man. He said, women want more, but settle. Men take what they can get.
Rebel argued that women struggle more because they're carrying the mental load of searching for true 50-50 equality.
Which forces women into this perpetual state of exhaustion and ultimately settling.
It's heavy. But then, drifting in from the third rope, we have Electrik.
Good old moderation, Jason.
Right. Electrik decides to bypass all the heavy sociology and just blame female standards.
Of course he does.
His stance is that women are way too picky over minor, trivial things.
He claims that a man who is an 8 can easily pull other 8s, but he will happily lower his standards and settle for a 6. He bases this entire worldview on a few 40-year-old women he talked to locally at a mixer in Houston
You cannot make this up.
who told him local men weren't masculine enough.
The sample size is pure comedy. Trust me, bro. I talked to 3 women at a happy hour by the Galleria, and the data is conclusive.
But you know what was even funnier than Electrik's sample size?
What's that?
Rebel's audio during this segment. We have to call this out for the listener.
Oh my goodness, yes. Family, if you listen closely to the raw audio of this transcript, right in the middle of Scrota giving this impassioned academic breakdown of male gender roles.
You just hear this loud clack, 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 squeak, clack.
It's so loud. Electrik literally has to stop the show and ask, hold on, is there a cable swaying? What is that rattling?
And Rebel, without an ounce of shame, goes, no, that's me. I'm taking notes.
And Scrota immediately calls him out. He
Yeah.
says, on what, a chalkboard?
Oh, absolutely.
Rebel's arguing that men aren't actually picking. They are just begging for anyone to say yes. And if your strategy is just throwing 100 darts at the wall while blindfolded and praying one sticks, you don't have power.
You just have a volume strategy born out of scarcity.
Exactly. But I'd argue that the woman sitting in the living room deciding whether to buy the vacuum cleaner from the frantic door-to-door salesman, she still has the power.
She holds the ultimate verdict.
Yes, she does. All right, let's quantify that power. It's time for the BS heat check.
Oh, let's go.
We got to rate these arguments 0 to 100% cap.
Yeah.
Sis, you do the honors. Let's start with the defending champ, Scrota.
I am giving Scrota an 85% cap rating on this round.
85% cap.
Look, I'll give him the 15% because he started incredibly strong.
True, the setup was good.
His points about men struggling with the psychological shift of being a nurturer in a system that historically only values their wallet, that was nuanced.
It was a real exploration of the why behind male frustration.
But the moment he tried to claim that men hold the ultimate picking power just because they have to brave the rejection of saying hello first, that was wild.
That was pure ego protection.
It really was. So 85% cap.
I think that's incredibly fair. He lost the plot entirely. Now, let's look at Electrik.
Moderation, Jason.
I'm giving Electrik a solid 70% cap.
Really? Just 70?
Yeah, I mean, he tries to play the middle ground, but his trust me bro evidence about women being too picky is just straight comedy.
It's absurd.
He completely ignored the reality that women hold out because they actually want a functional partnership, not another dependent they have to raise.
Right, he mistook healthy boundaries for trivial pickiness.
Exactly. Which leaves Rebel.
The man with the chalkboard, what are we giving him?
I'm giving Rebel a 10% cap rating.
Wow. Barely any cap.
The man was spitting straight facts. He correctly identified the market dynamics. Women are the gatekeepers. Men are shooting their shot.
And he brilliantly pointed out that men take the highest acceptor of their offer.
He dismantled Scrota's argument piece by piece, and he used his dusty chalkboard to do it.
So, it is official. Rebel takes round 2 for successfully cornering Scrota on the picking power fallacy.
The challenger draws first blood.
But family, do not get comfortable.
Never.
Because that illusion of power in the dating market actually bleeds right into how we handle consequences in the real world.
It really does. Because if you think you have power without accountability, you end up with the exact societal entitlement Scrota was trying to solve in our next segment.
Round 2 takes a hard left turn into an alternate universe, y'all.
Yes, it does. We're talking about Debate 3, the Mandatory Punching Center, and the FAFO Law. Yo, fam, welcome to Scrota's Mutha Effin' Punch world.
This segment was a cinematic experience.
I couldn't believe what I was reading. Let's go to the tape.
There are certain people that walk around this planet that say and do things, and you can tell that they have never been punched in the mouth before. Because you take your classic Karen examples, like that stick their finger in people's chests and stuff like that, like where I come from and like where you guys came from, you can't just talk anyway to anybody because you don't know like what's going to happen to you. So there's a certain level of respect that you carry about yourself that is learned because you know that you give respect to get respect, and that if you don't give respect, there are certain consequences associated with that. I'm not talking about doing anything crazy like shooting somebody or stabbing somebody, because talking crazy to people like that can be the resulting action of it. But a punch in the mouth will change your outlook on a lot of different things. I know some people who used to talk crazy in school and they got clocked one good time and they became amazing people like overnight, dude. So I think that's the case. I don't think Ted Cruz has ever been punched in the mouth before. I don't think it's ever like decked before. It's stuff like that. Getting punched in the mouth and violence aren't the same thing. Okay. Violence to me is actually like, okay, well, it is violence by definition.
What if the lesson is not learned?
We do what we can. We do what we can do. We do what we can do.
What if they learn they can take a punch?
They were going to act with impunity anyway. We did what we can do. It's not a perfect system, but it's going to change society for the better. And the majority of people are going to be like, okay, that could actually happen.
What if all these people that are losing their jobs after they say some wild stuff on the internet is the equivalent? In fact, more so, because you might be able to take a punch, but you get your paycheck taken.
People don't learn off that. People learn not to do certain things publicly, but people's invincibility doesn't necessarily go away. I'm not gonna be racist on Twitter, but I'll still be racist in my everyday life, is what those people would say. Don't clip me. Is what those people might do. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, you think the people that got busted and canceled for being racist on Twitter stopped being and learned their lesson? No.
Do you think some of their quote unquote perceived immunity was not stripped away?
No, because they look at that as an injustice as opposed to a consequence.
And to that point, do you think getting punched in the mouth would not be seen as the same way? Like, oh,
it's not an injustice if it's part of society. And like, listen, you're right. So I'm going to add this. There needs to be necessary education that goes along with that punch. Like, you need to sit down, like you go to the punching center, right? And they're like, hey man, you watch a little 1960s like PSA, talk shit, get hit.
Somebody
This
sits
is
on
Ronald.
the chair backwards.
This is Ronald.
So you decided to be racist.
Ronald decided to act with impunity and talk wild shit. And then Crack is like, yo, don't do that because you might get clocked. Okay. Video reel ends, they turn on the lights, and then here comes the person like, all right, time to get punched. And then you get punched, and then they give you your voucher, and then they do your medical checkup, and then you go about your business.
No,
And you live your life a better person.
Just like a lot of laws. I think this is a stupid ass law. That's my take on it. I think it's dumb as hell. I don't think anybody's going to learn anything from it.
So you went from, we need to punch everybody in the mouth so that
Everyone in the mouth.
We need to punch everybody in the
Every
mouth,
man, woman,
including
and
the
child.
people who were never going to say wild stuff. We need to punch everybody in the mouth.
All of them.
Which to me doesn't prove this, like, doesn't help your point, because if everybody's getting punched in the mouth, then it doesn't seem like, oh, you're getting punched in the mouth so you don't say stupid stuff. No, you're getting punched in the mouth because you were just going to get punched in the mouth in this dystopian society.
It's a preemptive strike.
It's really not though. That's like saying like
there.
all kids should get spankings. Like,
All kids should get spankings.
yeah, but all kids should get spankings when they do something bad. Not all kids should just spanking because it's Thursday.
Yeah, because that's child brutality.
Exactly. All you've done is just made
Move the age up. Like, they're not children anymore. They're teenagers.
it's just brutality.
Think about what happened when you got punched in the face and you realized you could take a punch. Isn't that like an empowering thing for a kid?
That's not good.
Listen, my son, okay?
I need my
He
son to
got
be
kicked
less
in the
empowered.
face super hard.
The last thing I
Okay.
want is for my son to realize he can take a punch.
My kid got kicked in the face super hard with a kick. Super hard.
Yeah.
It was bleeding everywhere. And he like lost it on the kid. Now I'm like, dude, when he falls down and like scrapes it, I'm like, dude, that doesn't hurt. Like, you're good. And he's like, you know
Yes.
what? I am good, and he goes about his business. How is that not a positive?
Then you have my son, where the last thing I need for him to learn.
Again, there could be some written exception. And
So the people who don't need the punch are not getting the punch.
we'll check in. We'll check in with him at 15. Okay. And if we need to move it further, we will.
The people who need to get punched are not getting punched. The people who don't need to get punched.
Didn't he get punched by my son?
Yeah, and it didn't help.
Okay. New rule. He did get punched by my son. Okay. If you get your punch earlier, then you're exempt. Is that fair?
No.
The topic started out relatively grounded, right? How do we handle the massive rise in societal entitlement, public bullying, and hate speech?
Right. How do we enforce the social contract when people feel completely untouchable behind their screens or just out in public spaces?
And Scrota, the man who just tried to give a highly sensitive sociological breakdown of male emotional vulnerability, suddenly turns into a dystopian dictator.
A literal tyrant. Scrota proposes a radical king's decree.
A decree. He literally advocates for a state-sponsored punching center.
We need to really marinate on the mechanics of this because it's insane.
What is his rationale for this?
His rationale is that getting hit in the mouth humbles you. It cures societal entitlement and creates a baseline of respect because you know what physical consequences feel like.
So he argues that the root of modern audacity is that too many people have never had their jaw rocked.
Exactly. So they don't fear the repercussions of their actions.
Okay, let's unpack the sheer philosophy of this, because Scrota is essentially trying to rewrite Thomas Hobbes's Leviathan.
Come on with the political science, queen.
Hey, we got to keep it intellectual. Hobbes argued that the state holds the monopoly on violence to keep the peace.
Right.
Scrota is saying, no, the state needs to proactively distribute that violence to everyone evenly to keep them humble.
It's madness. But Rebel completely disagrees, and he uses his own life as the primary evidence against this theory.
Rebel brings a deeply personal anecdote.
Yes, he does.
He explains that he got his tooth pushed completely through his lip by a short guy in a street fight.
A short guy.
And Rebel argues that the physical trauma didn't humble him at all. In fact, it emboldened him.
Emboldened him?
Because he survived it. He realized, hey, I can take a punch, spit out the blood, and keep walking.
Wow.
It made him less afraid of consequences, not more respectful of them.
Now, I have to push back on Rebel's superhero origin story here.
Please do.
Surviving a beatdown might make you realize you aren't made of glass, but does it make you a better citizen or just a more calculated predator?
Ooh, that's a good point.
Rebel is arguing that state-sponsored violence would just create a population of people who know they can take a hit, which completely backfires on Scrota's goal of creating a polite society.
Right. It just raises the threshold for violence. And while Rebel and Scrota are debating the psychology of physical trauma, Electrik is sitting there listening to this madness.
Moderation Jason steps in
And points out the obvious modern reality. Electrik argues that a mandatory punch is a terrible idea because kids today wouldn't learn respect.
No, they would monetize it.
They would use it for clout.
The digital economy of violence.
Yeah.
Electrik is spitting right here.
He really is.
He points out that kids would show up to the government punching center with their iPhones recording on tripods.
They would take the punch, intentionally spit blood at the camera, put a drill beat over it, and post it to TikTok to prove how tough they are.
It wouldn't be a humbling experience. It would be a social media rite of passage.
It's so true. The currency of the modern era is attention, not physical safety.
Exactly. So recognizing that the Universal Punching Center is a logistical and cultural nightmare, Rebel tries to reel the conversation back into reality.
Thank goodness someone did.
He suggests a pivot. He says, okay, instead of punching literally every innocent 15-year-old on their birthday, what if we only punch people who use hate speech? Okay, narrowing the target demographic.
Right. What if the physical consequence is reserved exclusively for the deeply ignorant?
But Scrota, who just pitched a DMV for assault, suddenly becomes a constitutional scholar and pushes back on the logistics of Rebel's idea.
The hypocrisy is stunning.
Scrota argues that making hate speech formally illegal is too legally dicey.
It violates the strict scrutiny standard of the First Amendment.
Right. It crosses the line of the fighting words doctrine, and it's far too complicated for the government to prosecute fairly without infringing on free expression.
And here is where the absolute magic happens, family.
The peak of the episode.
Electrik, who had been playing the quiet observer, comes off the top rope with the ultimate paradigm-shifting compromise.
He says, don't make hate speech illegal, just drop the assault charges for whoever punches the person saying it.
The legal loophole of the century.
It's brilliant. Electrik bypasses the First Amendment entirely. He says, we don't need to outlaw the speech. We just need to legally blind the justice system to the immediate physical reaction of the community.
And they all immediately agree to this.
Unanimous consent.
They officially name it the FAFO Law, the fuck around and find out law.
It was a beautiful moment of barbershop jurisprudence. The bureaucratic vision Scrota laid out is hilarious. We really need to picture the how of his plan.
Paint the picture for us.
Imagine having to log on to a government portal to schedule your mandatory face-punching appointment.
You have to take a little number from the dispenser.
You sit in a waiting room with terrible fluorescent lighting, reading a 3-year-old magazine, holding a little paper ticket, just waiting for a bored, unionized government employee named Gary to just deck you in the jaw.
And Scrota is defending this with a straight face.
He literally said in the transcript, you don't just teleport and punch them. There's a process. There's preparation.
He turns state-sponsored violence into a dental cleaning appointment. It is so unhinged. But we also have to roast Rebel here.
Oh, please do.
Rebel served up an accidental self-own of epic proportions while trying to sound tough.
Oh, the short dude.
Yes. Rebel is trying to make this profound philosophical point about how violence emboldened his spirit. And in doing so, he basically admits to the whole world that he got absolutely rocked by a guy way shorter than him.
Way shorter. And Scrota, to his credit, immediately catches it.
He does let it slide.
Scrota goes, you got punched by a really short person, and that's not the person the state would have selected for you.
Rebel tried to spin getting beat up by a guy who shops at Baby Gaps into a Batman origin story.
Looking ass really tried.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is exactly what makes their dynamics so incredible.
How so?
They went from pitching a dystopian sci-fi movie state punching centers straight into solving a massive constitutional crisis regarding the First Amendment versus hate speech, and they do it by creating a brilliant legal loophole. We can't outlaw the speech, but we can legally immunize the consequence.
Flawless street logic.
Yeah.
They basically agreed to just remove assault charges for those fuck around and find out moments.
It's a wild social contract, but the whole room actually stood 10 toes down on it.
This rare team unity on protecting dignity earns them a very special Juneteenth honor today.
We're giving them the Underground Railroad Heavyweight Joint Award for staying unified against the mess.
They collectively won that round for trying to find a physical cure for social ignorance, fam. All right, let's get to the BS heat check for round 3.
Let's do it. I'll take Scrota first.
Lay it on him.
I am handing Scrota a 100% full cap rating for this round.
100%.
State-sponsored punching centers is, without a doubt, the most unhinged, wild take of the entire season.
Easily.
The logistics alone make it impossible, let alone the ethics of a government mandating physical trauma to cure bad manners.
100% cap is fully deserved. Now, Rebel, I'm giving Rebel a 40% cap.
Okay, 40%. Why?
Look, his argument that getting his tooth pushed through his lip emboldened him, that's highly suspect.
Yeah, nobody likes getting punched in the mouth.
Most people who catch a beating like that don't walk away feeling like Superman. They walk away needing reconstructive surgery and therapy.
Very true.
But his pivot to targeting only the ignorant people spewing hate speech made logical sense and saved the debate from total fantasy. He brought it back to accountability.
Okay, fair. And then we have Electrik.
What are we giving Jason?
I am giving Electrik a 0% cap rating.
0 cap.
He was spitting straight facts. The man solved the constitutional crisis of free speech versus hate speech in one single sentence.
He really did.
He recognized the fundamental flaw in Scrota's universal punch. He recognized the clout-chasing reality of modern social media. And he formulated the FAFO Law.
Which means we have to declare a winner for round 3. Electrik takes it.
Yes, he does. He wins this round purely for uniting the entire group, crossing the aisle, and drafting the FAFO Law into existence.
Which brings us to a critical juncture, Queen.
It does. Let's look at the scoreboard.
Rebel has won 1 round. Electrik has won 2 rounds, and our defending champion, Scrota, is sitting at 0.
His title defense is in serious jeopardy right now.
The pressure is incredibly high, which is the perfect transition into debate number 4.
Because the FAFO Law was all about immediate physical accountability. But what happens when the harm isn't physical, but rhetorical?
Ooh, right.
How do we hold community leaders accountable when their words cause systemic damage?
That's exactly what the HLS crew ran into when they tackled the final boss of the transcripts.
Debate 3, the Dr. Umar Johnson showdown and the danger of blanket statements.
This is where things got incredibly intellectual and very serious.
The topic was evaluating the platform of Dr. Umar Johnson, a very prominent, highly controversial speaker.
And before we get into what they said, we need to do some table setting for the listeners.
Right. Context is key.
Dr. Umar leans heavily into Pan-Africanism. For those who aren't familiar, Pan-Africanism is the global movement aiming to encourage and strengthen bonds of solidarity between all indigenous and diaspora ethnic groups of African descent.
It's about self-reliance, economic independence, and cultural preservation.
Exactly. But Dr. Umar takes this a step further, specifically focusing on his strict, uncompromising rules regarding Black love.
Right. And for this episode, the crew brought in a guest host, Jason.
Cat Danny Jason in the building.
And Jason's stance was a strong protective defense of Dr. Umar.
Jason defends Umar's push for educational sovereignty, specifically projects like the FDMG Academy.
Which is Umar's long-discussed plan to build an independent school for Black boys to escape the systemic biases of the public education system.
Jason respects the economic plans. But crucially, Jason defends Umar's most controversial stance.
Which is?
That to truly invest in the Black community, you must marry a Black woman. Let's go to the tape.
And everybody doesn't like Umar except for myself, which is interesting. One thing that my siblings say is the interracial marriage. And they're like, oh, why should he say this and that? And I'm like, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And I can understand where he's coming from. He said, one of the things, and don't quote me on this paraphrasing, he said that in order for you to invest in a Black community, it starts with Black families. And if you're going to invest in a Black family, you need to choose, if you, as a Black man, you need to choose a Black wife. Right. And I'm like, you know what? I get it. At the end of the day, people determine who they want to love. But from that concept, I understand that because you have a Black wife, you have Black kids, blah, blah, blah. Not only is it just your wife, it's her side of the family, too, that reap the benefits of your hard work. So I agree on that stance. And my siblings don't.
I think I can understand the dissent to a degree, right? It sounded like the way you talked about it, it was like to each their own. And I understand because to me personally, I do understand what he's saying. One thing I told myself is I was going to marry a Nigerian woman because I wanted to marry a Nigerian woman. That was important to me, right? For a lot of the same reasons that you just said. I think where it's different is that the Umar stance on that is like, that is, if you don't do that, you're not committed. If you don't do this, you're not down for the cause. And that's a very different message than to each his own. But I think when you start doing that, you start sowing divisions in the Black community that you're trying to unite. If there's 2 or 3 brothers that are like, hey, let's go and create this community center for our people, and one of them is married to a white woman, Umar Johnson would say, nah, he can't be part of it.
That's
And
not
I'm
true.
like, hold on real quick. And I'm like, if you're trying to create unity between those people, for him, from the things I've heard, it's more of all like, I mean, he can be down, but he ain't really gonna be down. He's not really one of us if he's made
That's
that
not true.
decision. And I don't really rock with that.
Yeah, that's not true. And I don't think most people would rock with that if that was true, but that's not what was said. He's saying that you're not down for the cause if you make that choice. Doesn't mean you can't participate. Doesn't
but
mean that you're
that's not what I
excluded.
said. I said specifically that. I said saying that person's not down others that person. And I don't think that othering people in the struggle is what we need to be doing. That's where
When you say others that person, what do you mean by that?
So when you other a person, you create a division. You say basically they not like us. It's like that person is different and it puts them off to the side and it devalues that person's value to whatever the cause or whatever it is.
It's like white folks marching for Black History Month, the allies, or non-gay people marching on behalf of gay people. They're not gay, but they're marching on behalf of gay people. They're not in the category, they are other. And so for you to say, oh, you're not part of this movement, is to other them.
Yeah, even though they are Black, even though they are part of the group, It's, oh, no, you're an ally group now, as opposed to being a part of the
Yeah.
group.
I don't think those African Americans who choose to marry white people are ostracized and can't participate. There has been some statements where white women are the prize. White women are viewed as the prize. If you get you a white woman, you know what I'm saying? And some people believe that's that psychological colonization that stems from being outside and seeing them as a higher tier. When we get closer to white people, we feel that we've established a lot of things. Some people feel that way. So if somebody starts talking along those lines, then I can understand where they're coming from. But like I said, I would have to look at each individual on a case by case scenario.
And I think that makes the most sense. I would agree with pretty much a good part of what you said as far as the core, but Umar Johnson is a person who says that his stance is absolute and non-negotiable, and the only reason, and he's on a number of occasions, the only reason that a black man would marry a white person is because he himself wants to be white, and he values that whiteness more than his own blackness. And
Is there
And
any
he can
possible
be
truth in
full
that?
wrong in saying that.
is there
Is there any possible truth in that?
I think, to what you said, there could be truth here and there with certain individuals, like you said, to each their own. What I'm saying is that Umar Johnson does not allow for that condition. He repeatedly says that it's absolute. That's how he feels, and he cannot be swayed against that. So I think there's a lot of room for difference of opinions. There's a lot of room for like different strokes, different folks. I think there's definitely people that think that. Absolutely. I wouldn't be able to throw a blanket over everybody like he does, and for that reason, I can't stand with him on that stance.
Right. Jason's argument essentially boils down to the mechanics of cultural preservation.
Break that down.
He argues that while you can theoretically preserve your culture and pass it down to your children if you marry outside your race, it requires actively stepping up to do the work.
It's an uphill battle against the dominant culture.
Exactly. Whereas marrying within the culture makes that preservation natural and seamless. It's the path of least resistance for cultural survival.
Now, Scrota steps in here, and his stance is absolutely surgical.
Scrota went to work.
Scrota starts by acknowledging the validity of the overarching goal. He respects the push for black unity and economic empowerment. But he fiercely attacks Dr. Umar's reliance on blanket statements to achieve those goals.
Right. Scrota zeroes in on the rhetoric.
He argues that when Dr. Umar makes absolute claims, like saying a black man who marries a white woman fundamentally wants to be white or hates his own people, that rhetoric is dangerous.
It is deeply divisive.
Scrota's core argument introduces a brilliant concept: rhetorical responsibility.
I love that phrase.
He says that influencers with massive pulpits and huge followings have a fundamental duty not to sow division within already marginalized communities.
Scrota points out that blanket statements alienate allies and other people who are and should be part of the movement.
You cannot claim to be building a massive unified tent for all black people while simultaneously locking the door on half of them based on a purity test of who they love.
That is a bar, and Rebel backed Scrota up on this with a very raw, deeply real-world example that shattered the academic theory.
Rebel brought his own father into the debate.
He did. He talked about how his father was deeply pro-black, fully aligned with the ideologies of empowerment, but ended up going to prison.
And we have to acknowledge the context here, family. The prison industrial complex, the systemic targeting and mass incarceration of black men completely skews the demographics of the community.
Exactly. The system removes massive swaths of black men from the marriage pool, creating a ripple effect of trauma and scarcity.
Rebel explains that when his father was finally released, bearing the heavy stigma of a felony record, he was shunned by many black women who understandably wanted stability.
And Rebel says the only person who gave his father a chance, who held him down and helped him rebuild his life, was a white woman whom he eventually married.
Rebel uses this painful family history to argue that Dr. Umar's rigid, absolute worldview leaves absolutely zero room for the messy, systemic nuance of real life.
Rebel goes as far as to call Dr. Umar a fake Pan-Africanist.
Oh, he went there.
Because true Pan-Africanism relies on grace and solidarity in the face of oppression, not ostracizing your own people over a rigid purity test that ignores the scars of the justice system. There is plenty to roast here before we get to the heavy philosophical stuff.
Oh man, Jason.
Cat Daddy Jason provided one of the funniest, most poorly timed moments of the entire season before the debate even really got off the ground.
The technical difficulty. You cannot write comedy this good.
Set the scene for the people.
All right, so Scrota tees Jason up perfectly. He gives him the floor to explain the foundational philosophy of Dr. Umar. Scrota says, let Jason explain, drop some knowledge on the people. And exactly at that second, in the raw audio, Jason physically slides his chair under his desk. His knee hits the power button on his PC tower, and he completely drops off the call.
The comedic timing of the universe is undefeated.
Undefeated.
He was supposed to drop knowledge, and instead, he dropped his entire connection. He just vanished into the ether of the internet.
Gone. Just dial tone.
Wow.
But once he got his computer booted back up, the debate was intense. And I have to say, I need to roast Rebel just a little bit for the ending of his dad's story.
Oh, the ending.
It was such a poignant point about grace and second chances, right? His dad married the white woman who held him down when society threw him away.
It's a beautiful testament to love crossing racial boundaries in the face of systemic adversity.
But then, right at the end of the point, Rebel casually asks, now granted, my dad being who he is, later wound up cheating on that white lady with more black women.
I yelled. I threw my hands up.
Unbelievable.
The streets are undefeated. You try to give this beautiful cinematic tale of loyalty, and it ends with your dad just being completely for the streets.
It completely undercuts the romantic heroism of the story.
It really does.
But in a weird way, it perfectly highlights Rebel's actual point.
Which is?
That human beings are messy, flawed, contradictory, and do not fit neatly into Dr. Umar's rigid academic boxes.
That's very true. But the real highlight of this debate, the absolute peak of the transcripts, is how Scrota handled the intellectual counterpunching.
Oh, Scrota was locked in.
Jason tries to corner Rebel by asking a leading question. He says, do you think a system can be changed from within?
Classic trap.
Jason is trying to trap them. He wants them to admit the current system is irreparably broken so he can justify Dr. Umar's push for a completely separate, isolationist system.
But Scrota expertly intercepts the question. He doesn't fall for the trap.
Not at all.
Scrota shifts the focus entirely. He pivots from racial isolationism to class consciousness and building solidarity across communities.
That was a masterclass.
It was.
Scrota essentially says, we don't need a separatist system that divides us further. We need to unify not just black people, but all marginalized people who are fighting the exact same class warfare.
He elevated the conversation from a localized racial purity test to a massive structural critique of power.
He argued that the real enemy isn't the person you marry. The real enemy is the elite class hoarding the resources while the rest of us fight over scraps. It reflects perfectly in our BS heat check for debate 4.
Break it down, Queen. Who is spitting facts and who is full cap?
I am giving our guest, Jason, an 80% cap rating.
Ouch.
80%.
Jason was caught in a trap of his own making. He tried to defend Dr. Umar's absolute blanket statements while simultaneously telling the guys, hey, to each his own, you can love who you want.
The HLS guys sniffed out that contradiction immediately.
You cannot defend an absolutist with relativism. You can't say he is completely right and do whatever you want in the same breath.
Exactly. The logic collapses on itself. Now for Rebel, I'm giving Rebel a 20% cap.
20%.
He brought the raw, incredibly messy reality of life to counter the pristine academic theory. His dad's story, as wild and chaotic as the ending was, proved that systemic issues like the prison industrial complex create brutal realities on the ground that Dr. Umar's philosophy completely ignores.
He brought humanity to a theoretical debate.
Yes, he did.
But the standout here, the absolute peak performance, is Scrota.
Talk about it. Scrota earns a 0% cap rating. He was spitting straight facts.
Flawless victory.
His breakdown of rhetorical responsibility was flawless. He articulated exactly why an influencer othering their own people is fundamentally dangerous to the movement they claim to lead.
He didn't attack Dr. Umar's goals. He surgically attacked the methodology of division.
It was a masterclass in debate structure.
Which means we have a definitive, undeniable winner for round 3. Scrota takes it with a flawless victory for holding the line on intellectual responsibility and completely dismantling the absolutist defense.
So let's tally the rounds.
Let's do the math.
Rebel won round 2 by debunking the picking power. Electrik won round 1 and 3 by keeping the bro code and authoring the FAFO Law. And Scrota won round 4 by defending class solidarity. But let's move on, my nizzle.
Faux shizzle.
Because this next debate zooms out from sharing romantic partners to sharing societal resources, we are moving from the bedroom to the economy, tackling the concept of labor itself.
Okay, listen to me. You need to stretch for this one. Because we are about to review the tape from Season 2, Episode 7. This was, without a doubt, the most frustrating, headache-inducing intellectual standoff of the entire season.
A complete gridlock.
The topic, should we even have to work? Let's summarize the setup. Scrota comes out of the gate with a massive, sweeping philosophical proposition.
He went big.
He argues that because of the sheer advancement of technology and automation, human society produces enough of basic resources that people shouldn't have to work just to survive.
Right.
Let's go to the tape.
Electrik, should we have to work?
Yes.
Why?
Let's say, for instance, if we were in caveman times, if we just sit on our ass all day and not work, we'd starve to death.
I'm talking about work like occupations for money. If you had your rent taken care of, your healthcare taken care of, your food for the month taken care of, your utilities taken care of, and then you had like a couple thousand in your pocket or whatever, right? I'm sure if I said, would you still work? You would say yes, because you want other stuff. But if all those things were taken care of, would you have to work? Yes or no?
We have to work.
Look at how many things.
I said, do you think that we should have to work? Do you think that we should?
Look at how many things you had to check off before we get. So because we don't have those things checked off, we got to work.
But that's what I didn't say, do you think we have to work? I said, do you think we should have to work?
Yes, because everything is work. Everything is work.
I'm trading labor for capital. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about this barter thing. I'm not talking about a cashless society.
Or a community. Who is doing the work if not you?
Electrik would do it. People like Electrik. People like I'm in Electrik's camp. I would still work, but I would work on the things that I would want to work on. Most people work on stuff they don't want to be doing because they have to fulfill all those other things that society, necessitates, right?
So then how do I get stuff?
Then you use some of the universal base income that you've been given.
How am I not burning through all of my base income?
That's your fault. Then you have to work.
Oh.
Then you have to work. What are you owing for? That's not a slam dunk. I said initially, you should not have to work. But if you fuck that up and now you have to work, that's on you. That doesn't change my statement. Should you have to work? No, but I messed up. Now you do.
I mean, in theory, but that's what rubs up against it. This is why I was like, if you're a billionaire, what would you do? Because if you're a billionaire, it doesn't matter. But if you're not a billionaire, if you actually have some gap that you have to fill.
With the advent of technology, and automation, we can produce enough stuff for everyone. Food, energy, it's all commoditized and being sold. That creates billionaires. That can happen theoretically today. Farming used to require like most of the population in order to do and pull off. And now it requires like 1 or 2% of the population to actually like create all of the farm resources that everyone eats. If you want to be lazy and just lazy way and not do anything, there's no one stopping you. I'm not stopping. I wouldn't stop or cap anybody's ability to be industrious or to do more stuff. Electrik is going to do electric stuff. Regardless, is if I give them A, B, and C. If anything, I'll just give them more money to do those things.
You're saying somebody could not work. They could legit just not do anything and they have enough money to cover all their basic necessities.
If they want to budget that money, yeah, absolutely.
But what if they don't budget?
Then I thought I talked about that already. You got to keep up.
No,
I said if you mess that up, then yeah, you need to now you have a gap and you got to fill it.
Yeah, I don't see how that'll work. Even if everybody got everything they needed, I think the amount of people that would just say fuck this job and just walk off their job, I think it would definitely outweigh the amount of people that know we need to do what's right and just get out there and work and keep producing, so that way we can all have the necessities that we need. Yeah.
But I think everybody should vote because it affects everybody. Everybody should vote, but they don't.
But you just said everyone should vote, whether that's an achievable goal or not.
Right? Exactly.
No, hold on. Don't exactly, because I don't think you understand what I'm talking about. So just wait.
Okay.
Hold your agreement for a second. You said that everyone should vote. The proposition is, should everyone vote? yes, everyone should vote. And I don't know how achievable that is, but everyone should vote. So you can agree with the voting thing, even though you know it's not achievable. What I'm saying is, why can you not agree with that everyone should not have to work, considering what we can produce as a society, even though it's not achievable? Starting position is that they don't have to.
Okay.
Now, you could change that starting position, but the starting position is that you shouldn't have to.
People shouldn't get jealous. People shouldn't be evil. It's people. People shouldn't do crime.
You're right. People shouldn't do crime. Correct. People shouldn't do crime. People shouldn't get jealous. People shouldn't have to work. But then stuff happens. Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. So, you know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry. I don't care what you say. You can't tell me the farmer ain't working. I don't care if he loves.
When did I say that? He waits. Do you think that people who probably don't want to farm would set up farming shops because they know that they'll have the market on farming?
Yeah.
No, not enough.
Listen, you don't need many, because if only one person does it, that dude's king farm.
No, there's limits of scale. He literally can't do enough.
He'll be good, or she'll be good.
What you're saying, so we started off if everyone has everything equal, will everyone stop working, or should not be working?
No.
But then that, like, I see this and I hear it, and I'm already like picturing what it will look like in years. And oh man, you already said someone will set up their farm and they'll become King Farm.
King Farm.
But that in itself will it'll go back into capitalism, and then people will start working again because
capitalism never went away in this scenario, by the way. Just like, you know.
He's never saying capitalism went away. All he did is try to give people a base income so that not everybody. Essentially, he raised the minimum wage. He made social programs like more, like instead of shelters, you have an apartment. He gave like a higher universal base income is just essentially a better version of what already exists.
You know, I was having a conversation with someone over the weekend, and we were talking about how programs in the city kind of suck for people, where some people are so low income that they can afford to live somewhere, but then they can't afford other things. And then there's people that they don't make so much, but they make just more than the income to be able to get that apartment. So they're stuck in the middle.
Scrota comes out of the gate with a massive, sweeping philosophical proposition.
He went big.
He argues that because of the sheer advancement of technology and automation, human society produces enough of basic resources that people shouldn't have to work just to survive.
Right.
He is advocating for a baseline universal basic income. And he spent the entire episode putting the weight of the universe on the word should.
Yes. What we are dealing with here is the classic normative versus descriptive argument. This is a foundational concept in philosophy.
Break that down for the people.
A descriptive claim is about how the world actually is. For example, people currently have to work to buy food. A normative claim is about how the world ought to be. People shouldn't have to starve if they lose their jobs.
Right, that makes sense.
Scrota is firmly planted in the normative camp. He is arguing from a place of moral philosophy.
Right, but then we have Rebel's counter-argument. And Rebel fundamentally, aggressively, and repeatedly rejected the very premise of the hypothetical.
He refused to even engage with it.
Rebel argued that absolutely everything is work. Farming is work, watching your own kids is work, and he weaponized the current logistical reality to bludgeon Scrota's philosophical utopia to death.
He really did.
He just kept asking over and over, who is going to farm?
Which is a complete semantic filibuster. Rebel refused to engage with the theoretical post-scarcity economics Scrota was trying to bring up.
What is post-scarcity?
Post-scarcity is an economic theory where goods, services, and information are universally accessible, often due to extreme automation. Scrota is saying, imagine if machines did the farming.
And Rebel's response?
Rebel's response is essentially, but tractors break, so who fixes the tractors? He is dragging a high-level philosophical debate down into the mud of supply chain logistics.
It was pure agony. I was listening to this tape and screaming at my dashboard. Scrota is trying to have a high-level conversation about human value outside of labor.
Yes.
And Rebel is acting like he is the foreman at an agricultural plant, demanding to know the exact PTO schedule of a fictional society.
It was exhausting.
But let me play devil's advocate for Rebel, because I kind of see why he got stuck. Realistically, someone does have to do the dirty jobs. If you give everyone free money, why would anyone go down into a sewer or stand in a hot kitchen? He is basically saying humans are inherently lazy and need a metaphorical whip to do anything.
Exactly. But Scrota is trying to argue that if you remove the extrinsic terror of survival, people will still be driven by intrinsic motivation, the desire for purpose, status, or luxury goods.
Scrota is trying to explain the difference between shouldn't have to and won't.
Yes.
Scrota is saying people shouldn't have to work to survive, but they will still work to buy nice things.
And Rebel is looking at him like he is speaking ancient hieroglyphics.
But what is really fascinating here is the massive logical flaw in Rebel's debate strategy. We have to point this out, because it proves he was just being obstinate.
Oh, the crime analogy?
Yes. During the argument, Scrota tries an analogy. Scrota says, hey, people shouldn't do crime, right? And Rebel agrees.
That was a bar.
Rebel says, yes, people shouldn't do crime, even though he fully acknowledges that crime exists in the real world.
This is the critical breakdown of his logic. Rebel accepts the normative should when it comes to morality and crime. He understands the concept of an ideal state. But when Scrota attempts to apply that exact same theoretical logic to labor saying people shouldn't have to work, even though they currently do, Rebel completely short-circuits.
He just blue-screened.
He refuses to allow the philosophical should to exist in the context of economics, even though he just allowed it in the context of morality. It is a textbook hostage situation of a debate.
He held the concept of a hypothetical utopia hostage for 45 minutes because he couldn't stop worrying about modern agriculture.
Truly unhinged.
Which brings us to Electrik. Electrik was quiet for a lot of this, catching strays in the background, but when he chimed in, it was gold.
It really was.
Electrik stated that if everyone received a UBI, everyone would simply walk off the job. Society would collapse into immediate laziness.
Which perfectly aligns with Rebel's fear. But then Rebel asks Electrik what he specifically would do if he didn't have to work.
And Electrik just plainly says, I'd probably build stuff and become an actor and entertain people.
Which is the absolute pinnacle of self-actualization theory.
Break out the textbook.
Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs dictates that once your physiological and safety needs are met, which a UBI would theoretically do, humans move towards self-actualization, pursuing creative and fulfilling potential.
So Electrik proved it.
He did. Electrik admitted his exact truth. He would abandon traditional survival-based labor to pursue creative passions.
He inadvertently proved Scrota's point about human motivation, while simultaneously proving Rebel's point about people abandoning essential infrastructure jobs.
A beautiful, accidental synthesis.
Electrik would be out there acting in community theater while the tractors break down. It's so funny.
It is time for the bullshit meter. How do we rate this absolute mess of an economic summit?
I don't even need to deliberate on this one. Let's look at Rebel. Rebel intentionally misunderstood the assignment for nearly an hour.
Willfully misunderstood.
He refused to engage with a what-if because he was too busy managing the imaginary crops. For that level of intentional, obstinate filibustering, Rebel gets a 100% on the bullshit meter.
Absolute congressional testimony levels of evasion.
He wasn't debating, he was stonewalling. I completely concur.
Yeah, what about our benevolent dictator, Scrota?
Look, Scrota's heart was in the right place. He wants a world where people don't starve if they lose their job. But his utopian economics completely crumbled the absolute second. Rebel asked him who's going to pick the crops. His only defense was, someone will do it, and then he deported Rebel.
Scrota was coming from a place of theoretical abundance, not just magic.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about that gap between technology and our social contracts.
He was pointing out that we already produce enough food and energy to sustain everyone, no cap.
It's the king farm at scale, where automation handles the survival stuff while we chase our passions.
But those powers in play that you mentioned are the real-world walls that Rebel was focused on.
For that, Scrota gets a 30% on the meter. Noble intentions, but structurally unsound. We have to roast Scrota for a second, because Scrota gets so frustrated by Rebel's refusal to play along that he literally invents a dictatorship.
Ah, yes, the sovereign fictional nation of Scrotaland.
He creates Scrotaland. Scrota gets so mad that he says, in Scrotaland, people will work even though they shouldn't have to. And you can't disagree with Scrotaland because I've kicked you out.
Just absolute tyranny.
If your papers say rebel, you can't come in.
Which leaves Electrik.
Electrik gets a 20% on the bullshit meter. He didn't try to solve the macroeconomic puzzle. He just told us he wanted to be a thespian. Not planting his flag, but speaking his truth.
So to honor this debate, we have to drop our first Juneteenth award.
We're presenting the George Washington Carver Award for finding 100 uses for the word work.
This goes to Rebel for making systemic poverty sound like a necessary global battery.
He earned this award because he kept his feet on the ground and head stubbornly in semantics for real. So who emerged victorious from this economic quagmire? The winner is undeniably Scrota. Because look at Scrota's exact economic blueprint for Scrotaland.
He wasn't trying to kill the hustle, just give everyone a safety net.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about the floor versus the ceiling.
Right. Scrota says the floor should be covered, but the ceiling stays wide open.
That titan of industry you mentioned, King Farm, is just filling a market vacuum.
Exactly. Greed is still the engine, but nobody has to starve while it's running. Poverty might be a whole vibe too, but do not forget to pour up some red drink.
Oh, the red drink is already chilling in the fridge. Do not worry about that.
Scrota, the defending champ, is pulling ahead into the championship rounds.
He's demonstrating exactly why he holds the Underground Railroad heavyweight belt. But the match isn't over. We arrive at segment 5, drawn from season 3, episode 6. This is the final, the most heated, and undoubtedly the most dangerous debate of the entire season.
They really went there on this one. We've talked about shortcuts in the economy. Now we are looking at shortcuts in physical health and biology.
Listen to me, you have to buckle up for this one, because we are about to review the tape from season 2, episode 21. This debate is a masterclass in psychological rationalization and absolute delusion.
The Ozempic alternative.
The crew decided to tackle the topic of GLP-1 weight loss drugs, the physical act of working out, and the internal mechanics of human willpower.
Now, when we talk about GLP-1, we are talking about drugs that physically mimic a hormone in the body.
Your science is real.
They target areas of the brain that regulate appetite and food intake, essentially turning down the volume on the body's natural starvation alarms. It is a physiological intervention, but Rebel.
Oh, Rebel took a very different approach to the concept of weight loss. When I tell you Rebel came into this episode with the most chaotic energy possible, I am not exaggerating.
Chaos is an understatement. Let's take a listen to the tape.
I was thinking about these medicines that help with obesity and how part of what they do is suppress your appetite.
GLP-1s.
And it's like, but if you know that, then in theory, you could just not eat, right? And so you were saying, nah, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, the solution to this isn't just stop. That's not the solution. Well, why have you considered not? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. So here's my thing. I love food, and people that see me don't look at me like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't love food like I love food. I love things like that so much that I will put it off so that when I finally do eat, I don't have to worry about anything else. So I'm the type that I will work. Like if I have 4 hours of work, but I'm hungry at like hour number 2, I don't care. I'll keep working even through hour 3, 4, 5. Let's say 4 hours or 5 hours, whatever it was. The point is, I'm going to finish all those hours so that when I finally do eat, I don't have anything else in my brain and I can fully enjoy that relaxation and eating and like that meal, right? I know folks that are like, nope, I can't because I'm not going to be focused if I keep going. And I'm like, I get that. Granted, for the hours 3, 4, 5, half of my thoughts will be, I'm going to tear this food up. But at the same time, because I love that so much, I will push it off. And I feel like that permeates through other places in my life where it's like, oh, I wind up not eating as much because I don't want to ruin the meal with, when I finish this meal, I got to go back to, no, I don't want that thought. I want to like enjoy the meal. I could very easily be a big guy if I wasn't this way. And to that point, I've seen both of my parents gain weight and like also lose weight. So gene is there, but nah, man, I feel like people were like, oh yeah, well, and I think you brought this up, like, well, why don't you just work out 3 times a day? It's like, well, that's harder because that's an additional activity as opposed to cutting an activity.
Well, it depends on what hard is, right? I think for the most part, and as a person who's had different periods of, this rapid onset weight gain in my life, I think that the ease, first of all, privilege is a thing, right? If I want food, it's not difficult for me to get food. And so when you say, well, why don't you just not eat, but my body is hungry, like I need to eat, like that's something that has to happen. That's a biological function. And I have to, at some point in time, address it.
But to that point, is that not also thus the
How are you to that pointing? And I haven't made my point yet.
because I mean, I'm listening to you, so I have a good feeling of where your point is going. Plus, you gave
You don't know me.
you gave a synopsis of the point.
It's harder for me to stay here and not literally listen to my body and go get that food than it is to like, I'm gonna go downstairs anyway.
It's willpower. Like nothing is, in theory, nothing is stopping you from being who you were, except for the desire to be.
No, it's not just willpower.
What is not? What? How?
Okay, that's like saying depression is willpower. I'm always down, man. Like, I mean, the reason why I'm kind of like where I'm at right now is because for me, it's been kind of a personal struggle with me for a while. You know what I'm saying? It took me a while to realize that like I have been struggling with mental health stuff for the better part of 6 years. Pretty tough. I've been making lots of progresses and moves and stuff like that, but I've never felt comfortable, like really, really comfortable in my own skin for the better part of 6 or 7 years. And it's difficult when people say like, well, why don't you just blank? You know, as a man, if you try to explain your headspace to people, say, well, why aren't we just making excuses? Why don't you do this? Right? Okay, well, fuck, I'm not gonna explain my headspace to you. But then you're visibly struggling, and people saying, why don't you open up? Why don't you tell me what's going on? It's like, bitch, pick one. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Pick one. You want me to be vulnerable, or you want me to be tough? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't do that. I have a hard time wanting to open up to people because a lot of times people will try to solution your issues instead of understanding them.
What if they're right though? Because I mean, some of that sometimes sounds like, well, tell me what I want to hear.
They're almost always right, Rebel. And let me tell you what I mean by that.
Okay.
Let's say somebody's struggling with their weight. Okay. And then somebody advises, well, why don't you just like get a meal plan and do a food diary? That's not wrong, but that doesn't do anything. If that person's struggling with their weight because they have mental health issues, or they're depressed, or they feel financially or emotionally insecure, you saying that makes zero difference in their life. None. The food version of that is, why are you struggling with your weight? Why are you doing those things? Okay, well, here's the deal. I have no problem meal prepping. I do it all the time. Why don't you come over and we'll meal prep? Or why don't we set a day where I'll come over on this day and then you come over on that day, and then we'll stick to that every week. You know what I'm saying? I've had people say that before, but they don't ever follow through. And I'm not blaming people for that. Again, it's not those person's responsibility. At the end of the day, those are my responsibilities, right? But people, when they say, well, you're not serious, well, I know I have the problem.
I get it, because I know how I am with working out, as opposed to like, what would Electrik tell me? Electrik would probably be like,
just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Stop making excuses and do it. Like, thank you. Yo, Electrik, thank you for giving me these weights. Because I remember the first time like you came over, you were like, oh, cool, you using them? And I was like, yeah.
Oh yeah. That's what's up, man.
I'm totally using them. Definitely using them. So now it's like, fuck, let me make sure I'm actually using them.
No, he's lying, man. That's what he said. Yeah, just finished using them right now.
Ooh, can't you see me getting swole? Of course I'm using them.
Yeah.
I have strong willpower. Let's start there. I do have strong willpower. It is very easy for me to do. Let me back that up. It's very easy for me to not do something because I'm tired. So, like I said, it's easy for me to not eat because I got to make the food. I don't feel like making the food.
So
it's hard for me to do something.
So why are you the heaviest that you've ever been?
Because I've been active. I've been doing more.
So then you had a hard time not doing nothing. There's that willpower being tested.
My rule is usually I don't work out on Fridays. So I'm like, it's Friday. And then when Monday comes, it's like, well, we got a game on Monday, or something happened on Monday that, we can't keep working out or something. Or now we do this on Monday. So it's like, Tuesday, I gotta wait till Tuesday. So whenever I find that excuse to not do it, it's very easy for me to not do it because personally, I don't have that willpower to do it. You know what I'm saying? I don't have the motivation to work out. Like Electrik, I always applaud you because you be working out. I believe you can do it. I believe if you wanted to, you can drop 20 faster than I could drop 20.
I believe I can do it.
Do I need to drop 20? Is that healthy? Where are we?
Yeah. Go for it. Do it.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'm also like, well, screw it. Let's shape this 20. If we don't drop it, let's shape it.
The fuck does that mean?
So
Sculpt, bro.
yeah,
Get
sculpt.
ripped.
Yeah, don't just drop it to drop it. Like I want.
I'm African. If I drop it, I'm gonna be ripped.
There you go. Do it.
Let's do it. That's what I'm saying.
Y'all literally have not listened to a goddamn thing I've said this whole episode.
No, I listened to everything you said, and I'm saying exactly what y'all said. I would say
Exactly.
Just get it done.
Like I think he's on brand. I think through all of this, each of us is on brand.
And we're back to where we started.
Rebel claims that it is actually easier to just not eat than it is to work out. He goes on this incredible tangent where he brags about weaponizing his laziness.
I still can't believe he used that phrase.
He literally says that because making food requires physical effort, getting up, going to the kitchen, cooking, he will just sit at his desk and work through his intense biological hunger purely to save himself the effort of moving.
He essentially frames literal starvation as an efficiency hack for the profoundly lazy.
Wait. Let me play devil's advocate again. Isn't it easier to just not do something? Like if I don't buy snacks and put them in my pantry, I can't eat them.
Environment control, yes.
Isn't environmental control a real thing? Isn't it technically less calories expended to just sit on the couch than it is to go run a mile?
Physically, yes, it burns fewer calories to sit on the couch. But psychologically and endocrinologically, absolutely not.
Break out the biology for us.
And this is exactly what Scrota pointed out. Scrota pushed back hard, bringing biology into the conversation. Scrota correctly identified that hunger is not a casual suggestion.
No, it is not.
It is a primal biological survival urge driven by hormones like ghrelin, which signals hunger, and leptin, which signals fullness. Resisting a biological urge requires significantly more psychological willpower than simply taking a positive action, like going to the gym.
Right. Scrota is trying to have this deep, vulnerable moment. He is talking about how willpower isn't enough when fear, anxiety, and emotional insecurity account for 85% of your eating habits.
He was being very open.
He is trying to have a breakthrough about mental health and food privilege. He is saying, my brain is fighting against me.
Because it is. Relying purely on willpower to fight biological hunger is like trying to hold your breath to cure a need for oxygen.
But then we have Electrik.
Our resident gym bro.
Electrik is sitting there listening to Scrota bare his soul about the psychological complexities of food addiction, and Electrik's only contribution is to basically grunt, just do it.
He completely ignores the nuance of neurochemistry.
He challenges both of them to drop 15 to 20 pounds on the spot. Just go lift weights, bro. Scrota understands the complexity, but Rebel...
You must dissect Rebel's logic here because it is spectacularly flawed. Rebel is using some truly absurd analogies to justify his weaponized laziness.
Rebel actually compares the act of not eating when you were starving to the act of not cheating on your wife.
He really did.
He says, it's easier to abstain from the bad behavior than it is to actively do good behavior. He acts like keeping a fork out of your mouth is the exact same moral and biological mechanism as fidelity.
Your body does not physically shut down, cannibalize its own muscle tissue, and die if you remain faithful to your spouse.
I would hope not.
There is no hormone actively flooding your brain demanding you cheat to survive. But your body absolutely will begin to shut down if you cease caloric intake. Comparing a moral choice fidelity to a physiological survival mechanism eating is profoundly illogical.
What is insane? It's giving unhinged energy. But the true hypocrisy of Rebel's argument, the absolute chef's kiss of this entire season, is his accidental self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Rebel spends half the deep dive bragging. He is puffing out his chest, telling Scrota and Electrik about his flawless, foolproof willpower technique of weaponized laziness.
I just don't eat. It's so easy.
I just work through the hunger. And then, literally 5 minutes later in the exact same conversation, he accidentally reveals that he recently stepped on a scale and realized he is the heaviest he has ever been in his entire life.
The irony is rich.
I was screaming.
If his weaponized laziness diet is so flawless, if it's so easy to just ignore hunger, how did he gain the weight without noticing?
Make it make sense.
It proves Scrota's exact point. You cannot simply out-willpower biological reality long-term without addressing the underlying mechanisms, the ghrelin one, the biology one.
It is the ultimate cell phone. He built a glass house of willpower and immediately threw a 220-pound boulder right through the front window.
So let's hit the bullshit meter one last time before we get to the awards.
Yes, let's rate this.
Yeah.
Rebel, for looking his friends in the virtual eye and claiming it is easy to just stop putting food in your mouth when your body is screaming for calories, all while secretly being at his heaviest weight.
What are we giving him?
I have to give Rebel a 99% on the meter. Top tier, unadulterated delusion.
I agree completely. The empirical, numerical evidence of his own body betrayed his philosophical stance.
And Scrota. Scrota gets a 20% certified truth teller for the most part.
He was on the right track.
He accurately identified that just do-it willpower doesn't cure biological urges or mental health blocks. He recognized that the GLP-1 drugs address a chemical reality that sheer laziness hacks cannot touch.
Precisely. Man, Scrota's looking dominant. He was down for a few rounds, but it's looking like Scrota's trying to backcap that payload, baby. Scrota wins this round because he recognized the complexity of the human machine, whereas Rebel and Electrik tried to reduce it to a simple binary of action versus inaction.
And speaking of action, it is time for the main event.
The moment we have all been waiting for.
Welcome, everyone, to the official Black History-themed end-of-season Freedom of Speech Awards.
The Underground Railroad, 40 acres, and a microphone heavyweight belt.
We have a few honorary awards to hand out before we crown our ultimate heavyweight champion. Let's get right into it. Who takes home the award for Most Dangerous Tangent?
This award recognizes the moment a speaker derailed the conversation with a completely unprompted, highly specific, and legally suspicious anecdote.
And the winner is?
The winner is the guest, Nikita.
Yes, she earned this one, no cap.
During the X-Files debate, while discussing whether to date a friend's ex, Nikita randomly drops a story about her cousin, but not just any story.
It was so specific.
She specifically notes that her cousin was seen riding on the back of a Yamaha 115 motorcycle with Nikita's 19-year-old boyfriend in the islands. The level of granular detail, naming the exact make and engine displacement of the motorcycle, was so intensely specific that it sounded less like an anecdote and more like a sworn deposition.
Congratulations, Nikita. Next up,
we have the Lifetime Achievement Award in Missing the Point.
A very prestigious honor.
This goes to the host who displayed a generational talent for ignoring the actual premise of a conversation. The winner is Rebel.
He takes this home for the should we have to work debate. Scrota asks a philosophical question about a hypothetical post-scarcity utopia, and Rebel spends 45 minutes acting like the Department of Agriculture,
worrying about the tractors,
filibustering the concept by aggressively worrying about the current state of farm labor. He absolutely refused to let a hypothetical scenario exist in his brain. Next award, Most Dangerous Tangent. This one goes to Scrota.
Oh, definitely.
You cannot be in the middle of a highly sensitive, grounded conversation about the shifting emotional burdens of modern dating and suddenly detour into pitching a mandatory teenage face-punching draft administered by the DMV.
That is a conversational whiplash that could break a neck.
He took us from a sociology seminar straight into the Hunger Games.
The award for strongest Trust Me Bro evidence goes to Electrik.
Moderation, Jason, strikes again.
Electrik, we love you. But using your highly specific anecdotal interactions with 3 40-year-old women at a mixer in Houston as the definitive, undeniable proof for global, macro-level gender dynamics is the ultimate trust me bro science.
You cannot peer review a happy hour conversation, man.
You really can.
Best accidental cell phone. We have to give this to Rebel.
Oh, poor Rebel.
Admitting on the microphone that your superhero origin story, the moment you felt truly emboldened as a man, was realizing you didn't die after getting absolutely rocked by a dude a foot shorter than you.
That is bravery in broadcasting, my friend.
We respect the transparency, but we are definitely laughing at the visual.
Which brings us at last to the crowning of the overall champion. The decision to award the Underground Railroad, 40 acres, and a microphone heavyweight belt.
We have to decide who takes this belt from the defending champion, Scrota.
But shouldn't the score tally speak for itself? Rebel took the picking power, Electrik authored the FAFO Law and kept up the bro code, and Scrota dismantled the absolutist rhetoric, made everyone woke, except Rebel, and bared his soul for the culture.
That's true. But as the impartial judges of the Supreme Court of the barbershop, we have to look at the quality of the victories.
Right, not all wins are weighted equally.
And there is no denying it. Scrota's overall performance, especially in rounds 3 and 5, was an absolute masterclass.
He didn't just win the rounds, he elevated the entire level of discourse.
He brought class consciousness, rhetorical responsibility, and systemic analysis to a conversation that could have easily devolved into a petty shouting match.
He took a heavy intellectual burden and carried it across the finish line. That gives him the edge in points.
The math checks out. The rigor of his argument broke the tie, which means it is my profound honor to announce the results of this deep dive. Queen, do the honors.
Oh my God, this is so annoying. I hereby formally declare Scrota the back-to-back debate champion of the season.
Let's fucking go!
He has successfully retained the Underground Railroad heavyweight belt. For another year. Ugh.
Put some respect on his name. Back-to-back. Scrota, wherever you are out there celebrating right now, your belt is safe in the studio. You earned it.
Well deserved. As much as it pains me, he fought off 2 incredible challengers, a host of scrappy guests. He survived his own dystopian punching center tangent, kept his mental health dam from bursting, and ultimately held the line for intellectual rigor when it mattered most.
But wait! Special shout to my main man, Electrik.
Oh, hell yeah!
He went from being a quiet background sound engineer on the podcast
For real.
to almost taking down the champ in the midst of other heavyweights like Rebel, Jason, and Nikita.
Lift on, King.
Ejaculation Jason almost hit his mark, but just missed.
That's the worst thing you said this episode.
And family, that wraps up our second annual Juneteenth episode and clip show.
It's been a ride.
If the HLS fellas forget to hit record on their own gear again and leave the door open, we promise you, we will be back next Kwanzaa or next Juneteenth to hold it down, break into the transcripts, and call the game once again.
But before we let you go, we want to leave you with one final thing to mull over as you finish that plate of barbecue.
Drop that wisdom on him, Queen.
Think about the FAFO Law, the picking power debate and rhetorical responsibility. In a world where everyone has a megaphone, where everyone can broadcast their opinions, but nobody wants to be held accountable, who really has the power?
Oh, that's deep. The power of the pause. Keep your head on a swivel, family. Until next time, stay hungry.
Stay black.
Stay black. Okay, what should I have said then?
I mean, anything. Hesitation, Jason. Conversation, Jason. But ejaculation, Jason?
Whatever, we're done. Oh, I think we can technically say it now, just for today.
No, I thought you were joking. Don't you dare!
Nope, I'm doing it. Peace out, all my...
Press on